So a woman named Amanda on TikTok has almost single-handedly reignited the 50-50 debate, and I think we should talk about it. You see, she's recently made a video that's been gaining a lot of traction about how she believes that 50-50 is really the only fair thing to do, and that if you refuse to go 50-50 with a man, you are not a feminist. Now, I've done other videos on TikTok and on here describing why I'm hesitant about this idea of 50-50 relationships, but it seems like we need to talk about it again. But before we get into it, if you're new here, my name is Tanya and I'm a family lawyer and mediator, and on this channel I like to talk about all things related to relationships, from dating to divorce. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please make sure you're subscribed. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments. Also, if you would like to work with me, I offer mediation and coaching services, and I will leave those details below. Now, let's have a look at what Amanda has to say.
This is gonna ruffle some feathers, but there is a gross entitlement in women who refuse to go 50-50, who think it's ridiculous to go 50-50. I think it's ridiculous that you think that's fucking ridiculous. Are you literally fucking insane? If you are pro-woman, if you're a feminist, if you don't like the constrictions placed on you by gender roles and expectations, why would you, in your right fucking mind, believe that just because he's a man, he has to pay more? That's ludicrous! Sprinkle culture is diabolical, because what the fuck is going on? Treat him as your equal. You guys are equals. If you are going to place any expectations on someone purely because of their gender, that's unfair. It's not justified. Period. Point blank, period. I've never expected my boyfriend to pay for our dates. We will split food. Unless someone offers to pay for your meal or offers to pay for something or gets you a gift, you cannot expect someone to dote on you financially. Like, why does that have to happen in your relationship? You have to have a man that can solely provide for you. Are you insane? We fought for decades. Our mothers and grandmothers and their grandmothers fought for equality, fought for the right to work, fought for the right to be able to be an equal. But you want to fucking financially trap yourself with a man and then call us crazy for going 50-50? Girl.
So a couple of things. First of all, it seems like Amanda is, let's say, very passionately arguing against women who refuse to go 50-50. So let's explore a little bit about why women are pushing back against this idea of 50-50 and what it really means. As I've discussed before, and I've actually just done a video on the what I call husband wage gap, which I will link for you if you haven't seen it, 50-50 often really refers to money. So when people talk about going 50-50, they mean they're splitting all of the bills and expenses equally between them. And that seems fair on paper, but in reality, what ends up happening is that a lot of the work that happens in a relationship is not always split 50-50. So when we say 50-50, is it really 50-50? And this is where things get a little bit murky. You see, when a couple is young, maybe they're in their 20s, and they're renting their first one-bedroom apartment, it's very easy to share the domestic duties equally. There isn't that much work to do. They don't have children yet. Maybe they cook a few meals a week. Maybe they get takeout, but otherwise it's pretty even Steven between them. And at that point, I can completely understand why people will look at their circumstances and think, we'll just split everything equally. That seems fair. We're both working, we're both earning money. The problem occurs down the track. And this is where I start to see things break down in my practice in family law. You see, fast forward a few years, maybe that couple gets married and they have a couple of children. Now the workload increases significantly. Also at this time, it's very likely that they will move out of a small apartment and get a house somewhere, once again increasing the workload. And we see this in research over and over again, and it seems like nothing changes. Despite the fact that women out-earn their husbands, they will still do more around the house. They will still look after the kids. They will still do more of the domestic duties. And so as time goes on, those quote-unquote 50-50 relationships end up being really heavily weighted in favor of the man at the expense of the woman. That is what the research tells us, and it's not just one study, and it's not just an anomaly. It's, at this point, probably dozens of studies done around the world. And it is also what I see play out in practice. So when I caution women about 50-50, I'm not saying that I don't believe in equality or fairness or feminism for that matter. I'm cautioning women about ending up in a situation where they are contributing financially as much, if not sometimes more than their husbands, but they are still being expected to do most, if not all, of the domestic labor. Because I think we can all agree that that is just not a fair situation. And so a lot of the pushback from women is coming from this place where we've tried 50-50, myself as an elder millennial, and I think Gen Xers as well, can agree that we kind of tried that. Everybody did that. It was the default. And overwhelmingly, the result was not 50-50. So we can't put that onto individuals alone. Specifically, we can't put that blame onto women. Like, oh, well, you should have picked better, or you should have insisted that he did 50-50. Because if so many women all had the same experience, then we can't really say that it's all their fault. And you see, here's my take on what is happening here. Because I don't think it's anyone's fault specifically. I don't think it's like women's fault or men's fault. What I think is happening is this. You have this idea of equality. And yes, it's like women and men should be equal, as humans under the law, etc. But we are not fundamentally the same. So when you try to treat men and women exactly the same in all situations, you don't end up with equal outcomes, and you don't always end up with good outcomes. And it can go both ways. There are some situations where that ends up badly for men, and there are some situations where that ends up badly for women. And that's where equity comes in. And I'm always somebody who prefers to look at a situation from an equitable perspective rather than from an everything needs to be 100% equal situation. And when we're talking about relationships between men and women, we have to acknowledge the biological realities that we are not the same, and so we cannot always do everything 100% exactly the same in all situations. For example, and the most obvious example, is children. If a couple wants to have children, and if they are dating with the intention of marrying and having children, then we know from the beginning that that is something that is never going to be 50-50. The woman is always going to bear that burden 100%. She is the one who puts her life and her body on the line to bring about new life. And she is the one who lives with the physical consequences of that, which can include no longer being alive. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that women do still die as a result of pregnancy and childbirth. And on top of that, in the best case scenario, it's still physically arduous and takes years to recover from. And often women are left with physical complications that will last them the rest of their lives. But it's what we do. And it's not one of those things that's fair or even, it's just how it is. And we can't change that. So when we're talking about relationships between men and women where they are intending to have children, this idea that a couple must always pay 50-50 in order for things to be fair inevitably will throw things out of whack. Because in my opinion, there is no amount of money that you can ever pay to compensate for what a woman has to go through in order to have children. So that's the first thing, but there are so many other examples that I can give about how the experience between men and women is just not the same, and you can't therefore treat us exactly the same. For example, women's beauty standards are far higher than men's, and we are punished, if you will, much more when we don't comply with the beauty standard. There have been numerous studies that indicate that women who are closer to what society considers is the beauty standard will progress further in their career and earn more money. But in order for us to reach this beauty standard, or at least even try to come close to it, women often have to spend a lot of time and money maintaining our appearance just so that we can fit that beauty standard in order to be able to make more money. Do you see how this becomes unfair? And then you have what I referred to in my previous video, the husband pay gap, which is that married men tend to earn far more than their single counterparts, but also single women and married women. And while obviously this isn't always the case between individual couples, and we're seeing more and more women out earning their husbands, it still is something that exists to this day because of that unequal division of labor within the home. And I talked about that more in that video, so you can go watch it if you haven't seen it already. Then there is the biological realities of both one, trying to avoid pregnancy if we don't want to get pregnant or manage the number of children we're going to have, and also dealing with our monthly cycles. And there are costs associated with both of those things that men don't have to pay. There are also real medical side effects to all forms of birth control. And these are just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we could go on and on about the experiences between men and women in our world and how we are both different and we have different lived experiences. And there are lots of things that I'm sure men could point out that, are unfair towards them in the world that we live in. So the point is, we're not the same. We don't have the same experiences in society, and there are a lot of ways in which women end up spending a lot more time and money in order to exist in this world. And I'm not even saying that all of this is bad or that everything needs to always be the same. I'm simply highlighting how lots of things are not the same. And so trying to treat men and women as if they're the same and saying, well, everything is equal between us, so splitting the bills equally all the time in every situation is always going to be what is preferable. And if you do not agree, then you cannot be a feminist. What comes across to me in Amanda's video is a woman that's very young and doesn't have a lot of lived experience because she isn't taking into consideration the vast array of different experiences that women will have in their lives, and also the fact that women may want different things out of their relationship. And that some women may actually prefer to stick to more traditional gender roles if they are wanting to have children, for example. That does not mean that they are anti-feminist or that they don't believe in equality. It just means that this is how they want to live their lives, and they're looking for a partner whose values align with their own. And that might mean not splitting the bills exactly 50-50, but that doesn't mean that it's not equal because they will be performing a different role in the relationship. And this brings me to the problem that I really have with this whole 50-50 idea. And that is that fundamentally it implies a certain yours and mine idea. It's like 50-50 implies that there's always this my money, your money, my expenses, your expenses. And this is not conducive to a strong and long-lasting partnership. Another creator by the name of YV Edit came out with a response to this, and I really appreciated her insight. I'm going to play a short clip, but I agree with what she says here.
The worst part of the whole 50-50 dating is feminism conversation is not even the money aspect of it. It's the kind of men that you're gonna meet when you're dating 50-50. And trust me on this, as a millennial woman, we've already tried this. We've already been through this ringer, so let me just save you the time. The kind of men that want to go 50-50 with you will never be feminist in their nature. They will never be empathetic. They will not be understanding. They will never put you first. And if you let them stay around long enough, they will ruin your life. And like, I don't make the rules, but every woman I know who has ever dated 50-50, that man has always turned out to be her biggest op. The reason I say, like, men who are gonna date you in that 50-50 arrangement are diabolical, because they know damn well who takes on all the risk of that relationship, and they don't like you like that. They don't like you enough to assess your risk in that investment. They're only assessing their own, and of course their risk management in that situation looks good. Because of their socialization, men tend to very much be like all or nothing with their relationships, investments, like work performance, that kind of thing. They don't really live in the gray areas a lot. And so if a man is like constantly nickel and diming you and he's not willing to blur those lines, that's why you shouldn't date him, because he is using you. He is looking out for number one always. You should never marry that man or have kids with him or move into a house with him. Like, that man will screw you over to look out for number one. So that's what you're signing up for. Just know that. Like, it's the man. It's like his character. It's like this fundamental misunderstanding and disrespect of like what women have to go through every day just to be with a man.
You see, she has done other videos where she has said that relationships really should be 100-100. And I tend to agree. And I agree with what she's saying, that the 50-50 thing goes beyond the money. It's not even about the money. It's the mentality, and it denotes, in my opinion, a very selfish mentality. And as a woman in particular, this is something that is potentially dangerous for you. Because if you're going to enter into a relationship with a man, and particularly if you're looking to have children, you do not want to be with a man who is going to be that selfish and that focused only on his self-interest and his money and his share of the bills, and making sure that, you pay your share of the bills, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be disproportionately impacted by that. Because see, right away when people have this mentality of like your money, my money, suddenly your interests are pitted against each other rather than being aligned. The best and happiest relationships are where people do not think about me and you, but instead think about we, and the partnership always being aligned against whatever issue there is. It's our money, it's our bills, it's our house, it's our mess, it's our problems that we need to fix together. And when couples have that mentality, that is where they have much stronger and happier relationships. Because I see where 50-50 inevitably leads. And I'm telling you, a lot of the times it leads to my office, crying about why the relationship has broken down and why you're always fighting about whose turn it is to empty the dishwasher. Does that mean that I think that 50-50 is never appropriate in any circumstances? Absolutely not. There are some couples for whom 50-50 will work just fine, but they will usually be the exception, and they will usually be in circumstances where they don't want to have children, they're both relatively independent, and they're kind of happy with this, I have my life, you have your life, and we kind of mix our lives a little bit, but not too much. And that's totally fine. The point is that people should be free to enter into relationships upon any terms that they themselves consider fair for them. And Amanda's notion that it has to always be 50-50 and that 50-50 is the only way for things to be fair is really narrow-minded and I think a little bit naive. But that's just my opinion. Why don't you guys let me know what you think about 50-50 relationships? Have I gotten you to change your mind? Have you been in a 50-50 relationship? Are you in one now? And do you think that it is fundamentally the most fair relationship? Or do you agree that maybe there's a little bit of room for ambiguity and nuance in this conversation? I'd love to hear from you, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Consider checking out one of these other videos if you liked this one, and hopefully I will see you there in the next one. Bye for now.